This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
We are live.
Live.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow. We're back.
We are back.
It's your hosts, Mike and Ryan. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at fantasy_trucker, and he is at Kulz_sports. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just outstanding, Ryan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a great day. It's beautiful here in Austin. I'm settling in and really enjoying it. So yeah, actually, also had an interview for a CBS game show.
Hey-oh.
Stay tuned for that. I think it went pretty well. I did drop the pod in there.
Snap.
They told me to say my name, give a little intro and what I do. And I said, I launched a fantasy football podcast, baby.
Wow. Look at that.
You better believe
publicity.
You better believe if we land that show, that's going to be our first merch. I'd love to walk in there with a Fantasy Roadshow logo on and
little PPR is standard on the shirt.
PPR is standard and just let it rip, baby. Yeah. It was fun. It was really fun.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Great. Yeah. Well, I am in the truck.
Where are you?
I'm in the truck.
Where are you at?
I'm in the truck. You on the road still, it's a weekly thing over here with the Fantasy Trucker. And I am in New Haven, Connecticut.
Pizza capital of the world, baby. Dave Portnoy said so himself.
Yeah. So you know what I had to do. You know what I had to do, Mike. I went ahead and got me a pizza from Frank Pepe. Frank Pepe. Right?
Oh, man.
Not only did I get a pizza from Frank Pepe, but I also got a pizza from Sally's a Pizza.
You telling me you got a pizza from Sally's?
Sally's a Pizza. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and review both of them live on the pod and tell you guys which one I think is better.
Make Portnoy proud.
Yeah,
Dave Portnoy proud. You're in your pizza capital of the world. You got the two top dogs in town. Let's show the people what New Haven's all about. If you're in New Haven, Sally's and Frank Pepe, we're about to find out if that's the go-to spot.
I'm gonna show this one off first. This is Frank Pepe. Mike, I'm not even kidding you. Like, this is the best looking pizza I've ever seen. Like, it is just it's toasted right. It looks crispy, but it also looks like I didn't have to order it well done like I have to do in Chicago sometimes on my thin crust. This is oh man, it just looks great. So I'm gonna try the Frank Pepe first.
Yeah.
And if you're listening on the podcast form, what are you doing? Go to youtube.com/sportsethos. Check out the YouTube. You need to see this pizza. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you do.
It's a sight to see. Okay.
While you're at it, subscribe to the Sports Ethos channel because we are releasing episodes daily right now. We are trying to pump out as much content as we can, and Sports Ethos has been. Oh man, look at that pizza.
There's no flop. There's no flop, no hang. Look at this. This is just.
Oh my God.
One bite. Everybody knows the rules. Shout out Dave Portnoy.
Please just describe what is going on right now in your mouth.
Excellence. Just the only word I can use to describe this is excellence. It is got the sauce flavor is subtle, but it's also very bold. The cheese is like the perfect amount. The thin crust, the bottom of the pizza here. Look at that toast. The toastiness on this pizza. This is. I don't understand how Sally's could be any better than this.
Wow.
This is really, really good.
Give us a bite of the crust. What's the crust like? Is the second bite just as good?
Even better. Even better.
Oh, baby.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Mike, I wish you were here to try this with me.
Oh,
This right here, this Frank Pepe is easily the best pizza I've ever had.
oh no, shit.
Easily. I've eaten a lot of pizza. I'm from Chicago. I eat deep dish, tavern style, thin crust, square cut. I love it.
Yes,
I love it. But this right here, this really is the pizza capital of America.
Yeah,
Wow.
first one, Frank Pepe. Give us
Wow.
a review. Give us a score. Give us a score.
No, I'm gonna give that a score. I'm gonna go with a 9.4. That was just
Wow.
way better than I was expecting. That was
So you're leaving 0.6 review, 0.6
yeah.
of room for the best
Sally.
ever.
Sally's has
Yeah.
Sally has some competition. Okay,
Let's see. Let's see what's
now,
going on.
I'm gonna show you Sally's Pete's. Now it's Sally's APIZZA. So it's not a pizza. It's a Pete's. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Charred to perfection.
Like literally. Okay, so
Let it rip.
I know I said the last one looked really good. This one looks even better. Okay.
Let it rip.
So wow, this looks really good. Having a hard time separating this piece. One thing I'm noticing right off the bat, it's thinner. This is a thinner pizza than Frank Pepe. Now, there's a little bit of a hang here, but just understand that I got this pizza probably like 40 minutes ago, so it's not fresh, okay?
All right, let it rip.
Wow. It's oh my God. Hold on.
Get into it. Yeah, devour that thing. Get the crust. Oh, the crunch. The people heard the crunch and the mic. For those listening on podcasts, it was not even at his mouth.
Wow. Holy shit. 9.8. 9.8.
Oh,
This is fucking
whammy.
amazing. I may just eat this whole thing right now.
Oh my. All right. Well, let's get into some football, huh, folks? We just saw Ryan. Thank you so much. Traveling the world, doing the great people of America your services by hauling all of our goods, and we're having some fun along the way. I love it. Pizza capital of the world gave us a great review. We got a 9.4 on Frank Pepe and 9.8 on Sally's. Let's get into some football. What do you say?
Hell yeah. Mike, what are we talking about today?
We're going Dynasty wide receiver rankings, 21 to 30. And, we went through top 20. So here's where there starts to be a little bit of separation. So we're going to kind of take some commonalities, talk about a few different groupings we have in this space. And then at the end, we'll kind of go back and review both of our 20 through 30s. So, but of course, we will be posting that on Sports Ethos, our rankings, when this is all said and done. We're going to be updating those, weekly or as time comes. So let's get into the rookies. We got some rookies. We talked about JSN yesterday. So I had him a little bit higher. That's why we talked about him. But Ryan's got Jordan Addison sitting at his 20 spot. I'll let you go ahead and just kind of rattle off these rookies and talk about them, and then I'll come in and say my piece from there.
Yeah. Jordan Addison is very interesting, like especially in Dynasty. This kid's young. He seems to be the next case study for this undersized but highly productive wide receiver. He put up over 3,100 yards in 3 years at Pitt and USC. In 2021 at Pitt, 100 receptions, almost 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Just
he was wide receiver of the year. He won. I forget what they name it in college, but he won wide receiver of the year.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yep.
Yeah. And, if you think about the Vikings, they've been supporting 2 elite wide receivers for a long time. And, he could possibly become the number 2 target in that offense pretty quickly. Obviously Hawkinson had a great end of the season last year, and, we're both pretty bullish on him, but that's up in the air. You never know how this offseason is going to shake out. I could see Addison really stepping up and becoming that number 2. And I mean, if you're on the other side of Justin Jefferson, like, you're going to see some single coverage. Jefferson's going to be taking all the focus away from Addison. I'm just saying I could see a big rookie year from Jordan Addison and kind of him cementing himself as a great wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's probably the odds on, like, everyone's favorite given his situation there across from Jefferson.
Yeah.
And Cousins delivering the ball, stepping into that Thielen role, or at least that production that Thielen offered. Should be over Osborne. I think that's kind of just, what everyone has in mind.
Yeah.
But I usually don't do this and play the I forget what that role's called, but I have Addison as my last out of my last ranked rookie receiver out of those elite receivers.
Okay.
So I actually have, in my Dynasty rankings, I have JSN the highest, and then I have Quentin Johnson at 24.
Okay.
Zay Flowers at 28, and then I have Jordan Addison at my 30 spot. And honestly, like, it's hard to really come up with a knock, but I just think that Hawkinson's going to be getting kind of the same level of targets that he had last year, or Addison's going to kind of be third fiddle there. So I don't necessarily dislike him. I have nothing bad to say about him. It's simply just kind of fading the public opinion there, saying that he's going to be top dog. And quite honestly, this year, I could see Quentin Johnson being, like, in redraft rankings, I could see myself having Johnson above everyone because the injury upside's so high with Keenan Allen and with Mike Williams there. But I just think he is such a freak, and I think Herbert is the best quarterback by far out of all of those guys we named. Throwing quarterback for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in that aspect. But, I got Quentin Johnson down at 29. I just, with Addison's path to success, I can see it pretty immediately. We're going to talk about Keenan Allen and Mike Williams next episode as a little hint to that, but I don't want to dive too much into them. But Quentin Johnston, he's going to be the rookie wide receiver in a group that is pretty established with Justin Herbert. So, he's coming in as the number 3. He's the big body receiver. He could be the deep ball. He could receive a lot of deep ball throws from Herbert, but Mike Williams usually plays that role. So I don't know. I just don't see an immediate path to success for him. Yeah, there's injury upside, but we never really want to be banking on these guys getting injured. Keenan Allen's been pretty healthy most of his career. He dealt with an injury last year. Obviously, Mike Williams has had his injury upsets, but I don't know. I just see a little bit more of a different path to success for Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, but I see them. So, like, because I think Hawkinson is going to be the number 2 target there, I basically see them both in a third receiving target role. But I just think that Herbert is so much better than Cousins, and I'm not too confident in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams being, like, surefire ahead of Johnson. Whereas if he comes out and lights the field on fire, he can easily become the number 2, potentially that number 1 target. Whereas Addison will always be behind Jefferson. And quite frankly, I think Hawkinson too, just because of how much Cousins like to go to him. So again, it's no knock against Addison. It's fading the public, and it's fading, like, Allen and Mike Williams just not really ever being as, like, cemented into those roles as, a young, hungry guy who's a freak athlete. But anyways, I don't think we need to, keep talking about it. It's just how we both view that situation.
Yeah.
But Zay Flowers, he's a guy who I've told you, like, during the draft process, I was like, dude, this Zay Flowers guy.
Yeah, you did.
Is just has something else, like has a different gear. He's got that like small man's just like shorter than you, but I can ball mentality, that pit bull mentality that Steve Smith had in Carolina. So I just think that like his style fits well with Lamar. Like, I don't know why. I just feel like that slot type, like get me the ball and let me make plays, is going to fit Lamar, and like maybe get some rollout dump offs and just get creative with Flowers. Whereas like, I don't know that Bateman really solidified a role, and Beckham is just kind of all over the place and a mess. So I think he could very well be like the most sure-handed target next to Andrews in that Ravens offense. So I have him at 28 and could potentially see him rise. These rookies, they're all going to be highly ranked because of the unknown, but we're going to see. Yeah, we're going to see how their roles are solidified this year, and that they can be in a much different spot next year. So that's always exciting. But we're taking a shot to me.
Yeah, Flowers, I have him ranked a little bit lower than you just because of the, what we've seen from this Ravens offense in the past. They did get a new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, and he usually runs a pretty pass-heavy offense. So
yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Absolutely, I honestly could see Flowers fit into that Waddle or Devonta Smith role that for the Ravens, like shifty, deep target, reliable on early downs too, and I don't know, that wide receiver room is pretty wide open. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good. There's so much unknown there that with their roles, so I think that's like our best just quick analysis of that. I don't know that we need to go any deeper. It's just, as the season goes on and we see how things change, we're going to put in our input and see those roles get more solidified. But, a wide receiver room I do want to talk about is the 49ers. I have Debo as my 22nd. You have him as your 21st. And then I have Brandon Ayuk right behind him at 23, and you have him at 24. Even as I say that, I would be tempted to put Ayuk in front of Debo just because I think
Mike, get out of my head, okay? I was literally just about to say that. I am about to be putting, as soon as this episode's over, maybe even before, I'm putting Ayuk over Debo. I'm making it official.
I mean, like, Debo's awesome. It's just how big of a playmaker and how aggressive he is. We've seen it lead to some kind of injury issues here and there. Whereas Ayuk is just getting better every year, trending in the right direction, becoming one of the more favorite targets in the passing game. And like with Christian McCaffrey in, I don't know that Debo sees really any game. Like, I can see him being motioned into the backfield and then running that shot, that double shotgun approach. But I don't know that he's going to have 10 carries ever again. Even if, McCaffrey goes down, they have Eli Mitchell, who they love and who has been awesome. So to me, Debo will still be heavily involved and make huge plays and be kind of like a boom bust fantasy. We know he's going to catch those screens that he loves.
Oh yeah. They love using him in the screen game.
And we know that'll always be a part of the offense. So he's going to have value, but definitely CMC coming in and how creative it is getting CMC the ball, that takes a little bit of that away from Debo.
Yeah, I mean, obviously McCaffrey is the focal point of that offense, but last year, even with McCaffrey, Debo still averaged 4 carries per game, so he's still being utilized in that aspect, and they're going to try to create creative ways to hand him off the ball. So he technically still has that upside as a runner, though it's not as big as it once was. But the reason why I'm kind of been down on Debo lately is last year in 13 games, he only scored 2 receiving touchdowns. He only had over 100 yards once in those 13 games. Like, I don't think he had that one good season back in 2021 where he finished at 3. All the other seasons, he hasn't finished in the top 32. Like, I don't know. I don't think he is their best wide receiver on the team. I think that's Brandon Ayuk. And, Ayuk finished at wide receiver 15 last year. He had a career high in targets, 114 receptions and 78 yards, and with 1,015 and touchdowns. Like he all across
Yeah.
the board, he had a career high.
Yeah, he was 114 targets, 78 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So yeah, that's good for your wide receiver 15. Whereas you're right, Debo, 2015 he played 15 games. 2020 he played 7 games. Then he had a full season where he was top 3. He had 77 receptions, 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns.
How many rushing touchdowns that year?
Honestly, I don't know, but
it was a lot.
And then last year, getting drafted very high, only played 13 games. So had 56 receptions, 632 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he's really only had 6 receiving touchdowns that one season, that outlier season that it seems like. So, there is boom bust. I just like the way that Ayuk is trending. I think we both agree.
Yeah, stop drafting Debo Samuel over Brandon Ayuk. Start looking at it in a different perspective. Ayuk is the better receiver. That's the whole point we're trying to make here.
Yeah. So, I like to talk about some of these veteran receivers that we both see here, kind of group them all together. So Godwin, we're counting him as a veteran. And then Michael Pittman and we'll go ahead and throw Amari Cooper in there as well. I have Godwin at 26. You have him at 23. We both have Pittman at 25. And then Cooper, who's obviously aged. He's in his age 30 season. I have him at 31, and you have him at 28. So, start off with Godwin. Tell us why you have him there at 23.
Godwin is really hard for me to rank. Like he's a good receiver, but to me, he's like the candidate or the type of player that has a high floor and a low ceiling. He's a safe pick in fantasy football, and he seems to be the short yardage wide receiver, and that he may be highly productive in this offense with bad quarterback play. But last year career high in targets and receptions, 142. 104 receptions for over 1,000 yards, but that was with Tom Brady. So you can't really be expecting him to be producing like that this year. And, I don't know. I have him ranked there because I'm betting on the talent of Chris Godwin. And if Tampa Bay somehow is able to secure a better quarterback for the future, Godwin will be a very good asset in Dynasty.
Yeah, I'm not going to really talk much about Godwin. 128 and 142 targets with Brady there, which is awesome, and that's why he's up here, highly up here in the rankings.
Yeah,
he is a sure-handed guy, but I do not like Baker Mayfield. I don't know what that future what the rest of his career looks like. So, I have him at 26. I could very well see myself, as we're talking, move him down a little bit further. So I don't need to say too much there. He may be on like kind of my don't draft list, to be honest.
Yeah, so, I'm right there with you.
And saying that, another guy is Michael Pittman. I think his talent is out of this. Yeah, I mean his talent's out of this world. I'm not a believer in Anthony Richardson. You've heard me say that. I'm surely not a believer in him this year. And Pittman, as he's in his prime, he's kind of got the shaft with, the mess of last season, and then figuring out a new rookie quarterback who has raw talent, but not necessarily a pure passer. I'm a little bit worried about him. I think I'd put him on my do not draft list as well. So I don't know what you have to say quickly about Pittman, because I don't know that there's too much to say.
Yeah, no, the Colts have been struggling. That's no secret, but they got a new offensive coordinator and a new coach and a whole revamped offense. And I don't think that Anthony Richardson is going to have much success this year, but moving forward, Pittman is the guy. So if they do figure it out, if Richardson is able to become into that quarterback people expect him to, then Pittman will be a good receiver. But I mean, he's still finished inside the top 20 in each of the last 2 years, his first 2 seasons. Like, he's a good wide receiver. So if the Colts figure it out, he'll be very good.
Yeah. So I just looked up Anthony Richardson's over under for passing yards. It's 26.
Ooh, what is it?
2,600, which is not a great number. So like, granted, a lot of that should go to Pittman, so you could very well see him be a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, he was just under that. He got 925 last year.
Yeah, so you could see him be a 1,000-yard receiver, but I'm probably
Quietly.
staying away. I'm staying away because I do not like or believe in Richardson, and that's really all I got to say about him. But guy I am very high on, and if we talked about a little bit yesterday, if we're in a win now situation, I'm drafting Amari Cooper. If you look at what Deshaun Watson has done in his full healthy seasons and the type of wide receiver one production that he has supported, it is top tier. He had Will Fuller and made Will Fuller into a top 15, surely.
Yeah, I would say top
10
15,
guy.
Just about.
So, I expect a huge bounce back in kind of his old form from let's see, he was top, it says 32, but that was only in 11 games, which is amazing to see. So I don't know what his per game number was, but I think it's, up in that top 15 range. Anyways, we can fact check that and tweet it out. But so for me, Cooper, I'm all about it. Give me some Cooper in the next 2 years. He's a great receiver. He's a ball hawk. So I have him at 31, a little bit lower than these young guys, but I expect him to have, a very good couple seasons, and I'm going to have him high on redraft.
Yeah, I think he's 29 years old, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's 30.
Okay, I thought he was 29, but either way, it's very similar. He's
29, so
okay,
you got another year there.
Yeah, well, he's under contract for 2 more seasons. So between this one and next year, he's under contract. He finished at number 10 last year. He was the number 10 scoring wide receiver. But what I noticed when I was looking at Amari Cooper's stat line is, Watson was really brushing off the cobwebs. With Watson, towards the end of the season, he averaged 6 targets, 3 receptions, and 61 yards. He got most of his production and finished at number 10 without Deshaun Watson. So that's what scares me about it. But I'm confident, and so are you. We both talked about this. Deshaun Watson should be fully ready to go now. Absolutely. And I think Amari Cooper is going to finish in the top 10 every season he plays a full season with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that could be, a couple of years, 2-3 years. Could be higher on Cooper, honestly. So let's talk.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What were you going to say?
I feel like I need to move him up in my rankings. From where we have Pittman and where I have Godwin and my feelings on them, and just knowing that I think I could get a top 10 wide receiver for the next 2 years, I'm bumping Cooper up. Okay, so that's where I stand on that.
Yeah. So next we have we have Terry McLaurin, who you're higher on. You have him at 26. I have him at 32. And then Jahan Dotson, who I have at 27 and you have at 31. So we almost have those two flipped. I like the young talent in Dotson. And quite frankly, I've never been a McLaurin guy, so I'm probably a little bit low on him, lower than I should be. But
I think so.
It's just all instinct for me is why I like Dotson over McLaurin. You saw him last year, 7 touchdowns in 12 games. They like to find him in his first 4 games. He had 4 touchdowns. So 5 targets, 3 receptions, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns. His first game as a rookie. I just think that he's one of those guys that finds space so well. And if a play breaks down, you can count on him to get open. You saw Tyreek Hill make a career of it. And I think Dotson's kind of that guy. Howell, who kind of likes to scramble as well. I think he's going to find him in some spots and make some big plays. So I'm high on Dotson.
Yeah, it's not that I'm low on Dotson. I still believe in Dotson. And I could see Dotson and McLaurin finishing with very, very similar stats across the board, depending on how Howell can figure it out. Yep. But Dotson, he missed 5 games due to a hamstring injury last year, ended up at wide receiver 51. He had a very intriguing beginning to the season and end of the season. Really, he led the team in targets in the final 5 games. He was averaging 7 targets a game, But I think, Terry McLaurin was right under that with like 6.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's outperforming McLaurin by a lot. Terry, last year he had a career high with 1,191 yards. Okay. All doing that with 28% of his targets deemed uncatchable. Like, it was the quarterback play couldn't get much worse from last year. Hopefully Sam Howell's the guy. McLaurin saw 120 plus targets the past 3 straight seasons, and he's probably going to see him again. But they're going to be a good tandem. I expect McLaurin and Dotson, especially with Eric Bieniemy coming into the mix. I see great things happening for this team.
Yeah, super creative offensive coordinator. I mentioned Tyreek Hill earlier, and that he saw success in a Bieniemy offense. It makes me like those guys a lot. So,
yeah,
let's jag off though. What do you say,
Mike? You know me. I love to jag off.
Jagging off. Let's jag off here. I got
jag off.
You're a jag off, dude.
You're a fucking jag off.
Jeez,
all right. Anyway,
we got so I have Calvin Ridley there at 29. I have Christian Kirk at 35. You have Christian Kirk at 27 and Ridley down at 36. So we're actually swapped again on those guys. So pretty interesting. What do you got to say there?
Okay. So when I was first doing these rankings, my initial thought process with Calvin Ridley, this guy hasn't played football in like over 700 days. Like, he's been out a long time, I think since November of 2021. Okay. But as of recently, I'm starting to get back on the train that Calvin Ridley is just an elite wide receiver. Like, Calvin Ridley is an elite wide receiver. He's 28 years old. He will be a free agent after this season. So there's not much invested in his contract in terms of that. So, I know you like to see players on contract years. Calvin Ridley has something to prove here. I think he wants to clear his name from all the distractions that happened to him, right? But I don't know. I really think that it's a very possibility that Christian Kirk can lead the team in targets. I can't wait to see how this shakes out.
Yeah,
where
Christian
do you have
Kirk
him?
was wide receiver 11 last year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's outstanding, 26 years old, 133 targets, 84 receptions, 1,100 for 8 touchdowns. I mean, if he can repeat that year, that's outstanding. Quite frankly, I think Trevor Lawrence takes a massive step forward. I've already talked about that. So these two guys are going to have huge years. I probably rely on Kirk a little bit more, but honestly, Ridley, I think he's going to get hyped up and his ADP is going to rise during training camp. And, I might want to get him on a best ball team here before that happens, because
it might be a good idea.
I think you're going to see him just having an athletic rise and look really good. But like I said, Lawrence is going to take a massive step forward. So I think you're going to see Ridley, Kirk, Ingram, and even Zay Jones benefit from that. I expect a huge fantasy season for the Jags. So, I also want to say, Rye, we're moving really well right now. And because we have these guys ranked at a pretty wide range, I think we can keep on going. And let's do 21 through 40 right now. But let's list off our 21 to 30 first, and then we'll keep going down to 40. So I have Jerry Jeudy 21, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Quentin Johnson, Pittman at 25, Godwin 26, Dotson 27, Flowers, Ridley, and Addison to top off my 21 through 30. Why don't you read off yours?
Yes, I have. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up real quick. 21, I have Deebo Samuel. 22 is Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper, Quentin Johnston, George Pickens down at 30.
Yep. So we're going to have all of this posted on Sports Ethos. We're going to have it organized, posted for you. You're going to be able to see our rankings as we go, as mentioned earlier. But But we're going to go in and hammer out these 31 to 40 for you right now, because we've talked about Amari Cooper. We talked about Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, so Calvin Ridley. We talked about a lot of these guys. Let's go in and talk about Treylon Burks real quick. Rye, what do you have to say about Burks?
To me, it's kind of an ugly pick right now. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about Treylon Burks right now. Like he's a young receiver. He's the best receiver in that terrible wide receiver room. He should see a transition in quarterback here pretty soon. His future should be bright, but I'm not very attracted to drafting him in Dynasty. Like I could see him kind of fizzling out as well. So I don't know. How do you feel about him?
I like Burks. I've heard, we've heard that he's come in a lot leaner. I think his talent is definitely there. Tannehill, to me, seems to be the quarterback. We've heard this week that Malik Willis is out playing Will Levis, so I don't think he sees the field at all this year. Tannehill's going to be their guy this year, so I think Burks is probably going to take a step forward for sure with someone like Tannehill back there, who has, the likes of A.J. Brown that has produced pretty well. So I expect to see Burks have a pretty good season. That's why I have him there at 33. I don't know. I'm not too worried about him this year. The future does start to get a little gray because they don't have a quarterback figured out yet. I think it was a swing and a miss on Willis, and I think it's going to be a swing and a miss on Levis. So, yeah. But then I got I have Hollywood Brown at 34. This is a guy who could see a massive target share this year. So I'm just worried that the Cardinals are going to be tanking and that they're going to be one of the worst teams. That being said, what happens if Kyler Murray comes back week 8? I don't know what their season looks like. So that's why I have him down at 34. He's a guy that could come out and have a huge season. What do you got to say about Hollywood?
Yeah, he showed last year that even without Murray, he still averaged 7 targets a game. Like he's still being, utilized as an elite wide receiver. Without Hopkins last year, in the first 6 games of the season, he averaged 18 points on 10 targets. He was wide receiver 5 during that time. The wide receiver 5 through the first 6 weeks. Yeah. That's the type of upside that Hollywood Brown has. Yeah. And yeah, you're absolutely right. He could be a target hog this season, even with on a bad offense. Like but that's the thing too. They're going to be down. It's going to be positive game scripts for him. It's like they're going to be losing almost every game they play. They're going to be trying to throw the ball as much as possible, and it seems like Hollywood, it seems like he's going to prosper from that.
I think Hollywood's going to have a good season, and then potentially next year he gets to line up across from Marvin Harrison Jr. We don't know what that looks like, but I like Hollywood. I could probably move him up, but I'm not confident in doing so until I see what happens this year. But mid-season, you could see me move him up because he's just, hogging targets and an absolute, just
a true wide receiver 1.
True wide receiver 1. So, what about, here we go. You have Deontay Johnson at 34. I have him at 36. We talked about Pickens yesterday. The next couple wide receivers we're going to be talking about are complementary pieces to guys that we've talked about very recently. So tell me about Deontay. Then I want to talk about Mike Evans and Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Deontay Johnson is 27 years old. He's got 2 years left under contract with the Steelers. Finished inside the top 10 once in his career. In 2021, he was the wide receiver 8, top 10. Only 81 more yards than Pickens last year. Like everyone's saying that Pickens had a bad rookie year, and I was guilty of saying that as well. But it's just not the reality of the situation. No. And Deontay Johnson had a very weird season last year. He saw 147 targets. He caught 86 passes and scored 0 touchdowns. Like 0 touchdowns on 86. So you're going to see positive regression there for his touchdown total. But, he 147 targets is a lot of targets. Like I still see him leading the team in targets. Give Pickens and Freiermuth another season in the system, and hopefully that team gets better. And I could see Pickens kind of outshining him in the future. But as of right now, in the short term, Deontay Johnson is the number one target there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So I have him at 36. I have Pickens much higher. That is purely talent for me. And I think you're going to start to see that this year with Pickens overcoming and kind of alpha dogging him out of the way and being the wide receiver one. Part of that is because Pickett and Pickens have that rookie chemistry that they developed last year. And I think it's just building, and Pickens is going to have a great camp, and his catch radius, as I talked about, is incredible. So I just think that Deontay is totally fine taking a back seat, you can call it, but not really. I mean, he's going to see a massive target share. Pickens will probably have more touchdowns, but I like that offense taking a big step forward this year. I think Pickett, they found their guy. So I don't know. To me, it's just weird. Like last season, you heard a little bit about Deontay Johnson, maybe possibly getting traded, like all these weird rumors around that. But for me, it's a chemistry thing with Pickett, and I think Pickens has that a little bit developed more. But I expect to see Deontay Johnson get some more touchdowns and have a good year there. Even if his volume comes down from 147 targets, I still see him having over 100 targets. He's still going to have a very productive year. But I get what you're saying. George Pickens is the more talented receiver. That's just how it is. Yeah. Anyways, I have Mike Evans at 39 and Keenan Allen at 40. You have them at 40 and 41 in that same order. Let's talk about them really quickly. We don't need to expand on much. We know what they are. The stories there is, will Mike Evans have another 1,000-yard receiving year like he's had every year in his career? And will Keenan Allen come out in form and maintain that wide receiver one in a Herbert pass-heavy offense?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you, yeah.
Yeah,
but those are the storylines.
No, of course. No, absolutely. And I still believe in them. Keenan Allen is a target hog. Like I still think regardless of this rookie coming in, Keenan Allen's going to lead the team in targets. He's going to lead the team in receiving yards, but he's never been like that touchdown kind of guy. He's been a possessional receiver. So, Mike Evans, on the other hand, saw his lowest touchdown total since 2017 last year. I don't know. Baker was 6th in deep ball accuracy last year. Still throws the ball pretty deep. If Baker's the guy, I have no idea. We'll see how that plays out. But I mean, Mike Evans is a good receiver. We've seen that time and time again, right? He was even better with Brady, but I don't know. He could make Baker look good. Yeah. Mike Evans and Godwin, like they're that types of receivers that they could make Baker just look good out there. So I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about them.
Yeah, I think Evans gets 1,000 again. He's just such a freak out there. He made Johnny Manziel look good in college, and we saw how that turned out for him in the pro game. So, I could see him making Baker look good as well. Baker likes to sling it a little bit more. Yeah. I don't think he's going to have a monster season. He's certainly getting a little older, and, he could get a little frustrated throughout the season, and we'll see how that plays out. In terms of Keenan, I think he's aging. I think he's just – I don't know why I think he's aging. I just, have that feeling about him. I just feel like he's fragile. He is going to lead the team in targets, but I think Quentin Johnson leads that team in touchdowns. Okay. So hot take there, but I just think he's going to be the young energy spark plug that Herbert really develops a good relationship with and is like his next gen receiver. So those are my thoughts there. Let's talk about,
real quick. I just want to chime in. Keenan Allen, he's 31. So yes, he is aging. He's under contract for 2 more seasons. There's a little bit of stability there. I don't think he's that fragile. Like last year he didn't miss many games prior to last year. And even after he missed the 7 games due to a hamstring injury, he still averaged six receptions for 75 yards. He's been doing that for 6 straight years. He's averaged more than 6 catches a game for more than 75 yards. Like, we haven't seen any sign of decline other than his hamstring injury that he had a hard time with. But he's never had over 8 touchdowns in a single year. Like, he's a solid wide receiver too until we see that decline, and I don't think we've seen it yet.
Yeah, I guess just for me, he's 31, coming off injury. He missed 2 games in 2020, but yeah, you're right. Every other season from 26-17 was healthy, 16, 16, 16, and then 16 and 21. So only 2 of those seasons he had injury. I guess like dating back to prior to that, he had a little bit more injury issues, but for me, it's his age 31 season. I don't know. I just get that feeling about Keenan, whether it's right or wrong. But let's talk about our boy. We both love him. I've watched so many games of him. I was lucky to watch him live down in Houston for 3 years. DeAndre Hopkins. We both have him at 38. Let's talk about him before we wrap up our episode here.
DeAndre Hopkins. Someone send this to him. Sign with Kansas City. Stop messing around with Tennessee. Don't sign with the Patriots. Go to Kansas City. Please, for everybody that plays fantasy football, go to Kansas City. We all want to see it happen. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I love Hopkins. I think he said that he's going to play until he's not 1,000-yard receiver, and he is just like so built so well and is like just your stereotypical wide receiver one that I think that could be quite a long time. I mean, you could see 4 years of him just balling out.
Well, dude, what if he goes to Kansas City? Like, Patrick Mahomes will have him be 1,000-yard receiver for the next 10 years. Like, he's like, I could see that happening. Like,
yeah, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Likely landing spots. We've heard Patriots being probably the leader in the clubhouse. But I agree. Chiefs would be awesome. Regardless of where he is, I think he's going to have a great year. In my dynasty league, I just traded a future second rounder for him. So I would do that.
Yeah, I was just banking on, I did this months ago when it was talks about him being released and signing with a new team. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just take a flyer on him. You know, he's one of the greatest wide receivers of this generation. Like, he's been from 2015 to 2020. He placed outside the top 5 once, like in that 5-6 year span. Like, he's been a perennial top 5 guy, like quarterback proof, all of that. So Let's make a trade live on air. I'll give you a 2nd and a 3rd rounder for Hopkins right now. I'm declining that. Just I believe that he's going to sign with Kansas City, and if he does, you'd be stealing him from me for a 2nd and a 3rd.
Just let's make a live trade on air.
You're not gonna take DeAndre Hopkins from me live on air. You're not gonna twist my arm. It's not happening. Okay.
Give the people what they want.
No, it's not happening. All right. Done deal. It's not happening. DeAndre Hopkins is staying on the squad. Okay.
All right. Well, here's my 31-40. I got Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Treylon Burks, Hollywood Brown, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, Jamison Williams. There's a question mark there. DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, and Keenan Allen. It's my 31-40. We went ahead and just shot off 21-40. So happy we did. Go ahead and list off your 31-40, and let's wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, absolutely. 31, I had started with Jahan Dotson, then Treylon Burks, followed by Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, Jamison Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, Rashad Bateman, and Mike Evans. And I will put a little caveat. I'm going to be making some adjustments after the conversations we've had on this podcast, Mike.
Yeah.
Woo! But that's why we're doing this. You know, we got to go through it, be fluid, be water. You got to go with the flow. And from the conversations we've had, you make some good points, Mike. I just want to say that, you make some good points, and you're persuading me into adjusting my rankings.
I'm a salesman at heart, so I appreciate that, Rye. But let's go ahead and buckle up.
Buckle up, everybody. God, I can't wait to eat the rest of this pizza.
Let's